So I'm ready to add some more materials to my cushions and make some little adjustments as well. Just as a reminder for you guys, always make sure that in the render mode, where you go to current render, make sure that you've got either Rhino render or the legacy Rhino render on. In my case, I'm going to make a legacy Rhino render active. And now, if you go in the display tab, the background color for my rendered mode, which is the case in the viewport, it's a solid color, it's a black color. So I'm gonna, where it says background, where next to it solid color, I'm gonna unscroll the menu and I'm gonna choose gradient 2 colors. So that way you have shades of gray. You can choose whatever color you want for your background, okay? And make sure also for the ground plane, so I need to click on the ground tab, as you can see here, and you can do for the Mac user on the panels, all right, in the menu. Make sure that it's checked, all right, so that it doesn't look like it's floating in the air. You can see a drop shadow here. So if I turn it off, that's what it looks like, and I turn it back on, there you have it, all right? So the other thing I want to adjust, you can see that it's very parallel looking, the view, and I want to accentuate the perspective. So to do that, you've got this icon called for viewports. You right click and you expand the toolbar, and you've got this icon that is called, if you hover above it, it's called toggle view projection. If you right click on it, you set the perspective angle. So I'm just going to right click on this icon, and by default it's 13.49 degrees, so it's a bit too parallel looking in my opinion. So I want to exaggerate a bit the perspective. Typically for an object like a car, an airplane, whatever subject it may be, like a seat in this case, I like to set it to about between 16 and 21 degrees. So let's say 21 degrees, right click, and it zooms out of the camera lens a little bit. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to bring it closer to the camera lens, and you can clearly see that the perspective is more accentuated. If you do architectural or interior design and you want to take a snapshot of a confined area, such as like I'm doing for aircraft interiors, lavatories, for example, is a great example, then I will go back here, right click, and right click again to set the perspective angle, and I can type in 45 degrees, and then if I zoom in, you can clearly see that it creates a sort of fisheye effect. So the higher the value, the more exaggerated the perspective is. So depending on your profession, you might want to consider the angle also of your lens. So I'm just going to bring it back down to 21 degrees like this and zoom out a little bit. All right, and so now let's say that I want to save some of these views. You bring your cursor on the perspective tab, right click, and you've got here set view, and you go all the way down where it says name view. So it's very similar to what we've done with set C plane. You bring it all the way down and you have name C planes, and we already created an auxiliary construction plane called C plane 01. Well, it's the same thing in set view. You go all the way down where it says name views, and it's going to pop up this menu here that you see, and you just click on the floppy disk for save as, and you can name whatever you want to name. So I'm just going to call it perspective 1, and let's say that this angle is one of the screenshots that I want to take, and maybe I might want to take an angle like this one. So I just click on save as and rename this perspective 2, click OK, and do, for example, a third angle. So let's say something like that, zoom out, save as, perspective 3. And there you have it. So now I'm ready to start assigning some materials. So I noticed that I forgot to, for example, these buttons here. I'm just gonna, by the way, sorry, if you want to bring back, so because you rotate now at different angles and you want to bring back the views that you saved, you just right click on the perspective tab, set view, and you've got all the way down perspective 1. Go back to set view, perspective 2, and you right click on perspective tab, set view, perspective 3. That's how you go back to your different views, all right, that you saved. So for the button, like I said, I'm just going to select this and that part of my button that I created. So it's the reclined button. I want to bring it a little bit down like this. And I'm going to go in my properties tab, go and find the material list, unscroll my list, and let's select metal seat rail, for example. So it's just a metallic chrome looking type of material. All right, so let's rotate here, and I just want to look at the leather that I created and apply the texture. So if I zoom in here, let me just zoom in. You can see the texture is quite small. Okay, so if I select this and I go in my texture map this time, you can see that it's a box mapping. So we already applied the box mapping, but the stretching of my bitmap, my bump maps are a bit stretched on the X axis, and the Y and Z, it's different values. So I'm just going to put them at the same values. Let's say, I don't know, 10 by 10. So it's going to be the size of my grain by 10. So I'm going to make the grain larger, and we can see the effect it has. So it's 10 by 10 by 10, and it's a box type mapping. So this part here, clearly it doesn't look right. You can see the type of mapping, it's a surface type of mapping. So you can click, like I showed you in the previous video, apply box mapping, bounding box, etc., and play with the widget to orient your grain the way you want it. Or you can also simply do a type. You unscroll the menu at type, and you've got here box. So you create automatically the box mapping, and the size, X, Y, Z size, as you can see here, it's set by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. So I'm going to set it to 10 by 10 by 10. So there you have it, 10 by 10 by 10 in the X, Y, Z direction. And so if I zoom in, there's my grain. It looks nice and clean, same as this other cushion here, which is also set at 10 by 10 by 10. So I'm going to do the same for the front part of my cushion. So I'm going to select this. This one is again, it's a surface type mapping. So I'm going to set it to box mapping and make it 10 by 10 by 10, like that. Now I need to apply the material, so I'm just going to zoom in and then go back to my material list, unscroll the list, go and find leather, and automatically you've got the box mapping already applied, and you can see what it looks like, all right, with the textures. Same for the seat pan cushion. Unscroll the list in the material icon, select leather, and don't forget, go to the texture map after that, and by default it's set at surface mapping, so switch it to box mapping, and I'm going to resize the grain to 10 by 10 by 10, 10 by 10 by 10, like so. There you go. All right, and for this headrest, I want to make a different color. So I want to add some accents of red color. So I'm going to choose my headrest, and I'm going to go to my material icon. I'm going to unscroll the list. I'm going to go and find leather. However, I don't want it to be a dark blue leather. I want to keep the same bump map properties as the leather material. So I need to click on create a unique editable copy. So I'm just going to left click on that, and immediately you can see between parentheses the number 1, so that means it's a clone of the original material leather. And I'm just going to type red, so leather red, and in the base color I'm going to change this to a red color like that, sort of mid red, like that. Now I find that it's not capturing the highlights like I would like leather would typically do, because there's a certain type of glossiness. All right, so if I select my my headrest, the roughness is set at 87%. So I'm going to bring it down to about, I don't know, 40–50%. And you can see now the highlight showing up, and that's what I want. So I need to do the same for my blue leather, and I'm going to bring it down to 50% as well. So now, because this material leather applied to the backrest is the same leather that is applied to the other geometries that are dark blue leather, so typically if you select this one, it should show also at 48%. One thing I forgot to do is select the headrest, and if I go in my texture map, I just want to switch from surface type from surface to box type, and resize the size of my grain to 10 by 10 by 10. And I think I'm set. I saved all the views. I set my perspective angle. And for example, if I, maybe the legs, I might want to change the color of my legs. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to make a few little adjustments. So I'm going to select this bumper as well. I'm going to go back to my material list. And instead of being metallic, I'm just going to create a new material. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm going to select custom. I'm going to rename it plastic red. I want to add some accents of red actually. So I'm going to click on color swatch, choose a red like that. I'm gonna add a little bit of gloss, a little bit of reflectivity, so about, I don't know, 10%. So if I zoom in, you can see the nice little highlight along the filleted edge that I created. That's good. And I need to do the same on the other side actually. So I'm going to select this bumper and unscroll my list in my material list and go and find plastic red. And there you have it. So here, from this side, it catches more light. Here it's in the shadow area, so the contrast between the red and the blue is a bit harder to perceive. So that's good, and maybe the legs as well. So I'm going to choose my legs here and the cylinder as well. And at the base color, instead of being blue, I'm going to make it a metallic red. About this value, something like that. So now it's just a matter of fine-tuning and making little adjustments. And so now I can right-click on Perspective tab, Set View, Perspective 1. And let's say, well, maybe I'm not too crazy about this angle, but let's say something like that. So if you want to resave on top of your original view, you go back to Perspective tab, right-click, Set View, you do Name Views, so that you can overwrite the Perspective 1 that you created initially. Click on Save As, keep it as Perspective 1, click OK. It's going to ask you if you are sure you want to override it. You just click Yes, and there you have it. And then you can turn this menu off. So I like this angle. I like the way I can see the highlights are catching it. You can see the highlights here also along the seam lines. That's pretty cool. I can feel the cushions, the relief, you know, the 3D effect, and that's perfect. So you can take a snapshot of that. So if you want to take a snapshot, you just bring your cursor where it says Shaded Viewport, right click to expand the toolbar and find the function called Capture Viewport to File. So you just left click on that. So it's going to take a screenshot basically of your window, perspective window without the menus. You can have the grid if you wish, or you can have the axis show on your rendering as well. That's up to you. You can choose the resolution. So by default, it's going to take your viewport. So if you have a large screen, it's going to make it fairly big, the resolution. If you unscroll the menu, you've got the different presets that you can select from, or even customize as well. Okay, you can customize the size. And then you just click OK. The one thing I want to notice, you can make that I want to make note of is that you can also separate the background from your foreground, from your subject. So if you click on transparent background, that's what you will get. Save it as a PNG though, okay? Save it as a PNG. It's going to separate the background from the foreground object. I'll leave that to you to play with that. And typically that's how you do screenshot. And most of the time that's what I do. I don't bother to do like the full rendering, because the blue sphere that you have here, if you right click, you do the settings for your rendering, and if you left click, you can do a final shot. So I'm not going to go in details with that, because for me it's sufficient enough the way it's looking like that. All right. I invite you to explore. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. Left click, you do a rendering of it. It's going to do a scan line type of render. And if you right click on that sphere, it's going to take you to the settings to make the adjustment, resolution, and all that stuff. So you can try it out for yourself, but typically I like to have a rendering like that, especially when I'm about to share a design, not to a customer, but with my colleagues, share a design idea. This is plenty enough for me. I can see the textures, I can see the highlights, I can feel the 3D model, and when you rotate, you can see what it looks like. And also, as a reminder, don't forget that you can always go back to your environment mode, and you've chosen, for example, this type of HDR. You can always add more HDR if you wish. So you just need to click on the plus sign, import from environment library, and let's try and find something else. So for example, Haleakala. Let's choose this one and click open. So it's going to bring a new HDRI. Double click it to make it active, and you can see that the lighting and the reflections are behaving differently. And don't forget to expand the properties by clicking on you should see a little pencil, I think. So if I if you have this kind of a window, don't forget to click on this little tab here where there's a pencil, and it's going to show you all the properties. All right, so here's my HDR that is loaded, and you can also rotate your reflections to see which angle is more suitable for your to illuminate the scene basically. So if I go back to RGA window, that's what it looks like, and I just rotate like so. All right, so each HDR obviously behave differently, and then again I invite you to explore and see for yourself which HDR you like most. So there you go, and you take your snapshot. As a final note, all right, you also have, if I right click on the perspective tab, you also have the ray trace mode. So this is going to launch Rhino cycles. Personally, I don't use it. All right, I don't use it at all. But you can also do real-time rendering. So if you click on ray trace, it's going to launch this window, and it's going to create the materials in a even more realistic way. All right, so it's calculating the cycles. You can see the rendering. It's counting. Now it's at 12, 13, 14 seconds, and so on. And if you look at the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that the number of cycles, 68, 67, 70, and obviously the higher the number, the more crisp the image becomes. And if you left click on where it says 1000, you can change this to another number of cycles. So let's increase the number of cycles to 1500 cycles. So you let it run all the way to 1500, it's going to make the image crisper. And every time you rotate this view, all right, it's going to re-render. All right, so it makes the rendering more realistic looking. You can see the metal, the way the reflection is behaving, especially with the PBR materials. It makes it very realistic. I saw some renderings that are quite impressive just using these types of settings, and the Rhino PBR and the Rhino materials. And you can do some pretty neat renderings using the ray traced mode. All right, so that's using the Rhino cycles. But I like to work with V-Ray to do finished renderings. It's a matter of personal preferences. So if you've got other plugins, you can use V-Ray, Maxwell, Keyshot, whatever floats your boat basically. So I'm just gonna bring it back to the rendered mode, and as such, like this. All right, so I hope you liked the tutorial. I hope you found it very beneficial. So you have the Subdi tools and you've got the NURBS tools all in Rhino, and I think it's a great combo. And you can do a lot of stuff now with Rhino V7. All right, so thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your future projects. Take care.